There's been a lot of exposing of exes in the news recently. We covered Rob Kardashian and Blac Chyna on this show, and then also you guys might be familiar with Jack Galinsky and Madison Beer, how that went down, and then Jack Johnson came out with his version of events, and there's all this exposing exes and whatever. So Amir and I thought it would be sort of topical for us to have a discussion about exposing. Is this something that we think is ethical, something worth doing? Do people have their reasons? Is there ever a case where you should never expose an ex, or is there a case where you should always expose an ex? Why or why not? Amir, what do you think?
I don't think you should ever do it.
Okay.
But I get why these pseudo-famous people do it.
Pseudo-famous?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's not the topic of this video, but fair, okay.
I'm gonna get a lot of shit for that.
Look, why do you think people who have a following expose their exes?
Because they wanna get ahead of the story and they wanna make sure that their angle on the story is like heard first. Because like they have a brand to worry about and like they're worried about like their name and whatever, so they want to make sure that like it's out there.
You think it comes down to like PR?
Yeah.
But I also think that this is something that we can talk about in our own personal lives as well. I think that there are cases of people sending screenshots or the receipts, as it's referred to, on, even if you're not famous, if someone is acting out against you and then maybe they've moved on, there is this sort of knee-jerk reaction like, oh, I'm gonna expose them, you know?
Yes, so actually now that I think about it, I feel like exposing exes after a breakup has existed for as long as time has existed. Like when it happens, you start going and telling everyone what happened.
Your side of the story.
Yeah, your side of the story, because you want like all those friends that you had while you were dating, you want, like, it's like a divorce. You want to make sure that you have the most at the end of the day.
This is what I think it comes down to. I think that breakups, even when they initially begin as amicable, down the line, there is this desire or this urge to quote unquote win the breakup. But what's important to think about is that no one really wins in a breakup. The relationship's over and love is not a game, despite what you might hear in so many love songs.
Sometimes it is.
No, it's not a game. And
sometimes?
You can't, no, quit playing games with my heart right now, Amir. Love is not a game. And I think that but you can get caught up in all these passionate emotions. And remember, the opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. And when you feel so strongly, when you feel love for someone, a lot of times that will turn into hate when the relationship is over. You hate them, but you still want to have this influence in their life. You still can't live without them, and that's why there is this urge to drug out the receipts and to share them and to just, you want this person to be torn down because then you think maybe that will give you peace in your heart. But really the only peace I think you can get is from just let everything, you just gotta let it go. And I think that when we talk about exposing, I don't think anyone gets any peace from that. I don't think that the person who exposes it feels better. And I also don't think that the person who gets exposed looks at that and says, oh, my actions were wrong, I totally learned from it. Now, I wanna also make a note here in that in the case of Madison and Jack and in Rob Kardashian and Blac Chyna, there are abuse allegations. So of course you should speak up in the case of abuse, and I don't think that that's the same as exposing an ex at all. But there are allegations going back and forth. We still don't really know where exactly the truth is when it comes to these specific relationships. So there is some talk of exposure, but of course, in the cases of abuse, you should always speak out. That's not the same as being petty whatsoever.
Have you ever exposed an ex?
Certainly not to the degree that we've been seeing in the news recently. I have not exposed.
But what's your process? Say you break up with someone, you go tell everyone what happened. You don't just like keep it to yourself.
There have definitely been some exes where I felt wronged or I was really hurt, and I wanted people to know what happened. One case that sticks out that still is like, I'm not gonna expose them because you guys don't know who they are and I'm not gonna say their name or anything. But what bothered me about one particular relationship was that we had to be a secret because she didn't want anyone knowing that she was gay, so only a couple people knew. But on the outset, she was a very outspoken ally for the LGBT community and a lot of her friends were gay. And I just remember being like, you are such a hypocrite. And when the relationship ended, I didn't out her or anything, but if someone asked me about the relationship, I wouldn't deny it.
To be honest.
Because yeah, I wouldn't deny it. And that is kind of a way of me being dumb and exposing it, because I was so salty that she was still like, I love
no, it's
LGBT
not.
people.
I mean, you were salty, but like, look, people need to be held accountable one way or another, or they're just gonna keep doing that shit. Like this is like our social evolution to want to do this, want to go tell other people about it, because we don't want that person to keep going on and doing that same shit. So you call them out on it and like you kind of shame them, and hopefully they learn from their mistakes and they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, that's a fair point, and I definitely think that's something that we've seen come up. I mean, in the case of Rob Kardashian, he felt wronged by Blac Chyna's behavior, and so he said, I'm gonna call her out on that. In the case of Madison Beer, again, it's unclear whether or not she exposed Jack or if it was leaked. That's not the conversation we're having, but he was verbally abusing her. Like he was calling her a slut, he was calling her these awful names, and when that got out, she was like, yeah, I shouldn't have sat by for that bad behavior, and
Yeah, you can't, dude. They're so young. Like
I know.
They're a really good-looking couple, though.
Yeah, did you just find out about them today?
No, I knew about Jack and Jack.
Okay.
But like, yeah, they're young, and I'm not gonna lie. Like in my earlier relationships, like I was verbally abusive because I didn't know how to control myself, how I felt about certain things.
And
hopefully you learn, but like it takes a long time, and like you have to be honest with yourself.
And you're feeling these insane hormonal feelings of passion and desire for the first time in your life. And I was the same way.
I still feel them today sometimes, but like it's not easy when like you're fighting with your significant other to like keep it civilized. It's really not. It's easier sometimes to keep it civilized with people that like you're not in love with, because like there's all these emotions, all this passion put into one place with that person, and like it's very, you can lose it.
Yeah. And then
you gotta be careful.
You have to be careful, but we wanna hear from you guys in the comment section below. What do you think about exposing exes or exes exposing other exes? Do you think that there is ever a time or place for it? Did you follow any of these things that were going on in the news, Jack and Madison?
What do you think about my socks?
What do you think about Amir's
Monopoly.
socks? He loves them very much. Our couch is broken. It will be back at a later episode, and we'll see you then. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and Amir and I will see you next time on Pop Trigger.